I want to thank every single person who's ever made a heel for me, because I know I've put everyone through a terror. Hi, Harper's Bazaar. This is Cynthia Erivo, and we're looking back at some of my fashion moments. This is Fashion Flashback. This is the Tony Awards 2016, and I'm wearing Roberto Cavalli. This is actually a really cool story. I went for a fitting, and I didn't like the pieces that we had chosen. And I think Anna Wintour had gotten wind of it and sent me this dress. I felt amazing in it. It was very me because it was very different. All the colors, all of that sort of metallic in it, the ruffles and the layers. I felt really special. I'm a little less casual now, so I might wear this just going to the supermarket. I was so excited to be going to my first Tonys because I don't know that I expected to be there. It was the first time I'd been on Broadway. It was the first show I'd done on Broadway. So to be at my first Tonys and winning a Tony that evening was massive. I was nervous, but I also had a really great time because I was surrounded by friends, old and new. My mum was there that night. It was a good night. I remember I stayed out till like 5 a.m. in the morning. Oh, look at this. This is Marc Jacobs at the premiere for Harriet. I loved this dress. It's just like an explosion of joy. Just so fun and flirty and silly and playful. There's so much volume in it that it's one of those dresses that could probably swallow you whole if you aren't confident enough to wear it. And I just loved it. And there's so many little pieces to it. Some of the flowers were coming off and we'd put them on in different sections and different places. We were just having a ball with it. The dress itself was a character. This was one of the first time I'd worked with Jason. He's like the big brother / uncle that everyone wants and should have. And he really, really understands what I want to do and how much I love fashion and how much I love to dress. And so he is really good at making sure that the pieces that we choose show off who I am. And we have a lot of fun together. This is the Kennedy Center Honors, and I'm wearing Kong Tree. It was perfect. I was singing for Dionne Warwick, and I did Alfie. And I knew I wanted something that you could see from far away that could take up the room on the stage, because I knew the stage was big. I've sung on the Kennedy Center stage many times. The shape of the dress reminded me of the 60s and felt very Dionne Warwick-esque. I wanted something that made me feel very special that night and that I could just stand and sing in, that it made its own statement. And this was that. I love this. This is the 2024 Oscars wearing Louis Vuitton, one of the first green looks. We didn't do very many green looks, but this was one of the first, and I loved it. It was so playful, a little dangerous, you know? The back was all ruffled all the way down to the ground. But I liked the idea that it felt kind of slinky. When I walked, the back moved with me, which is kind of fabulous. I'm very playful when it comes to jewelry. I like big statement pieces. I loved these earrings because they were sort of a combination of emerald and pearl and diamond all together, and it was really fun. I love a jewel, as you can see. The next one is the 2024 Met Thom Browne. We had, I want to say 4 or 5 different sketches of what it could be. And then Jason and I will look at the sketches and we'll sort of maybe pick our favorite things from each of the piece to create the one piece. And these flowers, basically, there were more and more flowers every time I saw it, including on the day. And I remember on the day we were still sewing petals onto the dress. And we had like little bugs on there. We had crickets, we had spiders, we had butterflies, we had dragonflies, we had scarabs, we had ants. It was such a wonderful take on the idea of creating a garden on the clothing. I was so pleased with how playful we could be. I love Thom. I've been wearing Thom Browne for a long, long time, and this might be one of my favorites. This is Alphaba's hero dress, which is actually really magnificent. That comes from the mind of the one they call Mr. Paul Tazwell, who is a genius. And this is the first iteration of her cape, which is sort of actually really just a piece of fabric that was tied around her shoulders. I loved it because of how complex it was, but how simple it looks from afar. I think the thing I'm most excited about for people to see is the growth. See how far Elphaba's come. She's a grown-up. It's a long way from who you meet in the first film, but that person who you meet in the first film is still in there somewhere, but she's just grown a lot. And I'm really excited for people to meet her again. Another time when green shows up This is a Louis Vuitton at the LA premiere of Wicked, the first Wicked. And I felt like Diana Ross's child. I wanted something really sexy, and I wanted something that felt really like skin-like. So when we were creating this dress and making this dress, I knew there was like one time that I would allow myself to wear green on the carpets. Most of the other carpets, if not all, are a version of black. If I was going to do green, it was going to be full on. Like the necklace is exquisite. I also really love my makeup this night. Alphabet has freckles, so I wanted to sort of pull from that and give myself some freckles. It was really cool. This is Schiaparelli at the London premiere of Wicked. So whimsical. The velvet part on top is actually like a bodice, a suit, like a bathing suit almost. And then there's a corseted part underneath the skirt that holds everything together. And then the skirt over it, to keep the structure, is then corseted onto the corset underneath. And obviously you have this metallic part that goes underneath everything. So I would say about 3 layers for the structure. And then for the ruffles, I want to say about 3 as well. So it's really wide. It takes up a lot of room and you have to sort of walk sideways in order to get in through doors. But that's kind of the magic of it. If there's not a drama trying to get in and out of places in an outfit, what are you really doing? They also made a shoe for me because I like a heel, a very high heel. I want to thank every single person who's ever made a heel for me because I know I've put everyone through terror. It wasn't easy to walk in, but who needs to be able to walk? Who cares? I don't care about comfort. I just want it to look good. And the looking good feels good to me. This is the SAG Awards and I'm wearing vintage Givenchy. I mean, this was a triumph for all of us. There's not much to be said about this except that it's a work of art. The genius that this is beyond compare because you kind of put it on backwards and then it wraps all the way around you. And it's all one piece. And yet it still forms to the body. I just love it. And the only other time it was worn was on the runway. It was a magical moment. This is the 2025 Tony Awards where I was hosting, and this is Schiaparelli. This was divine. You remember when I told you I love a corset? This was the corset of all corsets. It's just fabulous. The structure, it sort of sits around you. There's like a space around your clavicle, but your waist is right in there. It's just fabulous. I don't know how you even think about doing something like that. And the skirt's just so simple. It's a beautiful crushed peach velvet, like delightful. And all of that is hand embroidered with pearls and it's just gorgeous. I knew that I wanted to make sure that everybody had a good night. And part of that for me was making sure that I was also entertaining in what I was wearing, not just what I was doing and saying and singing. For instance, at the very beginning when I opened, I wore a red dress with a white collar by Gap Studios. Everything was on purpose, you know? I remember this Marc Jacobs was up in the rafters and we wanted to feel a bit like a disco ball so you could see me from wherever you were in the house. This literally was just to introduce someone. And it reminded me of Death Becomes Her, which was on Broadway, and it felt very of that space. So I said, we need to wear it because it reminds me of a show that's on right now. And this was by Paul Tazwell. And it made no sense to not wear a piece by Paul Tazwell since I was standing there hosting the Tonys and his show was nominated. He was nominated. It's purple. And the first time I was nominated for a Tony, I was nominated for the color purple. And his show has costumes and all of them are purple. So it all felt very necessary. I knew that I wanted to wear many looks and also it was kind of expected. And though I don't necessarily like to do what's expected, I'm never going to say no to changing my clothes constantly and wearing loads of wonderful pieces. So that was an expectation that I fully leaned into. Thank you very much for watching and be sure to check out my Harper's BAZAAR cover.